Hello everyone, welcome back to our episode Showcase on Elden Ring. Now, by today's request, we're getting an item quite late in the game, last third or quarter if you will. Alright, so by today's request it is the Rotten Greataxe. What makes it so rotten? We'll find out. The description reads, a Greataxe designed for gladiatorial combat now festering with scarlet rot. Used by duelists who are exiled from the Colosseum. Now, first problem I have with this, it's already an offshoot of the regular, colossal great axe, but it's a colossal weapon, but it calls itself a great axe, but it's not in the great axe category. Strike number one. Oh well. So yeah. Now the ability we get is Endure, which, it's helpful in certain applications. But no matter, let's not talk about that, let's talk about some stats. So, starting off with physical stats, we got 162 damage. That's lots. And a decent amount of, bonus there. Going out for scaling, we got an E for strength and a D for dexterity. That's strike number 2. Looking at this weapon, and even for the stat requirements, as you can see now, it is not a dex weapon. It does not look like one. Speaking of which, the requirements requires 30 strength and dexterity, so you need all that strength and it's not being put to proper use. We see the additional effects, and D does have the Scarlet Rot, passive effect of 65 points per hit. And you can kind of use it as a decent shield, guarding almost half of all magical damage, and a decent amount of physical. And the Endure only cost 9 FP, so not much. That's not very much at all. So, overall, it's kind of an effed up weapon, isn't it? It's wrong in many ways, and more just physical in name. It's wrong in category, it's wrong in scaling, and as we're about to move on to, it's wrong in looks too. So, not sad, at least it's powerful. And it has Scarlet Rot, but does that Scarlet Rot, does this weapon have enough DPS to even properly use it? We'll talk about that later. Okay, physically. Now, the term for medieval battle axe is the most loose exaggeration in all of media. Here I got on the side a Danish bearded axe, or the Viking bearded axe. I might be wrong with the Danish part, but it is in fact a bearded axe. This is a battle axe. Now, there was two-bladed axes out there. They're normally for wood cutting, because when one gets dull, you flip it over, and you can continue chopping. Having this in battle, though, is a hindrance. Sure, you get that extra leverage, but it gets tires you out more quickly. It's heavy. This weapon is a crime against humanity, because we look closer, and we can see on the head, someone's put a blade on top of a blade. Why the fuck would you do that? This goes also for the other duelist Greataxe, which is the plain version of this, but why would you do that? You already have a blade. Putting a blade on top of a blade doesn't do anything. Just gives you more mass. Whatever. Visually, this thing just triggers me on a lot of levels. But luckily, it's just visual. Anyhow, let's go on to those animations. So since it's a colossal weapon, when you swing it, well, it claves into the ground pretty nicely. You're using it more as a hammer than an axe. Though with the weight of everything included, it would make a better hammer than an axe, I'd wager. So that's the normal attack. You got the power attack here, which is hard to tell the difference. They're almost just as fast as each other. But either way, you have very slow attacks in between. So you also try the charge attack of the power attack. Also very slow, but it's probably the better way to use it, is to use those charge attacks efficiently. Next, we got the crouch attack, which is probably one of the faster strikes. So you can pretty much twirl around and bury into the ground. Of course, the power attack for crouching does not exist, but it has to be mentioned anyway. Then we get the quick step normal attack, which is a 2-step and chop. Decently fast, but is that point in the beginning. And of course, the power attack variant for its quick step attack doesn't exist. Now we got the normal sprinting attack, which nothing exciting there, just a plain ass chop. Fast enough. The power attack is the twirl and burying the axe, which is alright. It's not too slow. I'd probably prefer to use that over the normal attack when sprinting. Next we got the jumping attacks, which is almost no different from any of the normal attacks. You're just chopping and burying the axe in the ground. The power attack variant is a bit slow. Arguably you touch the ground before your axe does, so I'm not sure the whole point of that, but jumping attack is. But no matter, let's go into two-handed. Two-handed attacks, well, you're almost doing the same damn thing, except you're not twirling a whole bunch while using that normal attack. God, your throat or shoulder trying to do that in reality. Alright, then we got the power attack for two-handed. Almost is just you have a one light curve on the first strike, and the second strike is the basic chop. Then we got the crouch, which you just literally bury the axe. You're taking the head of the axe and you're burying into stuff. It's hard to get a good angle on that, but you're just basically using the back blade to chop. And of course, the crouching power attack for two-handed does not exist. Then we get the quick step normal attack for two-handed, which is fairly quick. I actually like this one a bit. It's fast enough to be pretty useful. And of course, the power variant does not exist. Then we got the sprint attack, which, like any of the normal attacks, is just overhead chop. Nothing new or unique there, it's fast enough. And of course I got the power attack, which is very much reminiscent of the one-handed version. Almost different animations. Okay, I've got the jumping two-handed attack. It's pretty much identical, just with two hands now. And arguably stronger. Though marginally. So yes. Okay, so next we'll move on to the special ability, Endure. So when you activate it, it looks like your character is steaming hot, but only for literally a few seconds. This is only useful when an opponent strikes you, because it's meant to decrease damage momentarily. So you can also spam it, but you can also see the FP cost. Not very much. It's a very smidge amount. So if you're not very keen on dodging, and especially for those undodgeable moves, this is one such strategy. Now let's look at horse animations. Alright, when using the weapon, your character swings awkwardly and looks painfully draws it back up, instead of using the backstroke. It's like your character doesn't even realize you have a double-headed axe. Still triggered on this. And we got the power attack variant. This one makes more sense and how it comes back up. But oh well. And also you can hold the charged attack as well and hit opponents as you ride by. So yeah, overall, decent animations. Now, where do you find this? Is the next question. Well, here I am at the Consecrated Snowfield. What's this place called? It doesn't matter. You'll be right here. So this is where I found it. I'm not sure if there's another place, but this is the place where I found it. So when you start that Grace Point, you just travel a little bit to the west. You'll come from that direction there, as I'll show there. Okay, and I'll just meander over here. Now you'll probably, those with high definition will see the opponent ahead. Those with low definition, give it a second. But yes, we have the Rotten Duelist here. What makes him rotten? Scarlet Rot. Probably his attitude too. Anyhow, he's the mob that drops it. I'm not sure how difficult the drop is. I got it on my second try and I just was casually approaching him. So I got this level before I didn't even start the series. So, in terms of fighting him, let's get some let's try to endure a bit. So there's a 2-hit combo from him. He's very powerful. He hurts. It hurts a lot. Alright, and of course it's like Scarlet Rock along his weapon. Of course you don't get the ball and chain. So here's me activating the Endure. As we can see, this attack's going a lot more manageable. At least for that of a few seconds. I was able to take many hits for dying. So using a colossal weapon. These things are massive, of course, and that's exactly what you're leveraging. The mass of your weapon. So if you have money opponents, your goal and aim should be to hit as many of them as possible. Not really as fast as possible, but you want to get your one solid hit in, and hit him hard. Other than that, well, that's the premise of a colossal weapon. Bonk your opponent hard before he bonks you. Let's try on some stance breaking. So, one-handed normal, takes 2 hits. No surprise there. That's kind of expected, though it's too slow for the follow-up with a critical attack. Oh well. And you can see one-handed charge, also for a power attack, gets through it. For non-charged, it takes 2 hits. So don't bother with one-handed normal attack. Okay, so we've gone to two-handed, and two-handed normal attack takes 2 hits. Two-handed power attack, again, 2 hits. I kind of expect it to be 1 hit by now, being a colossal weapon and all. Jumping? Two normal attacks jumping? I expected 1. And it's only by the power attack jumping do we get 1 hit. And of course, it's still too slow to get that follow up with that critical attack. So I was a little bit disappointed by the stance break on this. Now we're fighting a troll here just for the Scarlet Rod effect. I'll be fighting about a much more powerful troll later on. As you see, we can break his stance pretty easily, and about around 5-6 hits, we inflicted the Scarlet Rot with it, which will slowly eat away at your opponents. Alright, so let's go on some upgrades. Now I won't be talking too much, but in terms of what I used in the video, I used the Frost version as the best damage overall rating. Alright, so I took the upgraded Frost Rotten Axe and fought against, Frost Troll? I'm not sure what to call these guys in terms of furry troll. Who knows? So I'm pretty much aiming to try and break his stance, preferably. Easier said than done, but I also want to try and inflict that Scarlet Rod, but it does take too many hits in my opinion. But oh well. In terms of using the axe casually, I can break the stance. It just takes too many hits casually. And now there's a game, of course, stuttering during footage. Whatever. Hope they'll eventually fix that in the one-day patch. Now, this time I'll use strictly just charging attacks. So there's 1 charge attack and 2 charge attack. Now that's one hell of a way to break a stance and such a large opponent. So that's the best way to go about it. Don't bother the Scarlet Rot, just freaking heavy axe it. Now, using against the opponents of the Helic Tree, well, most of them didn't stand really much of a chance. 1 hit is generally enough to bury these guys. Generally. Sometimes it does take 2, but that's if you charge up and time your attacks correctly. I didn't always time mine correctly. Then again, my playstyle, I don't fully favor large weapons. Did once upon a time, but that was back in Demon Souls. Well, it was a long time ago. So yeah, in terms of enemies trying to guard, it was rather pointless, as they can block one hit, they won't block the second. And of course my lock-on screwed up there, but no matter. But yeah, even a charge attack, burrowed right through. So overall, I like to damage the weapon, but in my opinion, in my taste, it just takes too long for a lot of the swings, where I can achieve the same amount of damage faster. But mind you, that consumes more stamina. So let's take this against a clean Rod Knight, and I'll just take out his Doorman, who always seems really passive. This time it wasn't procced by me, so I was able to get up nice and close to him really quickly. And that as you saw, he tried to guard against that, and failed to do so. And I basically tore right through him with poise damage. Now, for shits and giggles, let's go against that Rotten Duelist again, since we know how powerful he is. So, even with a charge attack, that guy, he's pretty darn tough. Now, of course, I gotta watch out for that Scarlet Rot of his. Now, I wanted to try something specific that I didn't show anywhere else in the footage yet. A counter with a Greataxe, or I guess a Colossal Weapon. So there we go, and you saw it brought him down to his knees. And he didn't get a second chance to attack me after that. So it's pretty darn powerful, if used correctly. So yeah, pretty darn powerful, indeed. Alright, let's go on some pros and cons of the Rotten Greataxe. For pros, well, we got a few here. Well, we got Scarlet Rot built in natively, since there's no other way to apply that. We also have an impressive damage output. Alright, and I at least say, depending on your build, it is the better of the Greataxe of the two, unless you're a strength build. That's about to affect the cons. Speaking of which, first con, its scaling is screwed up for most builds, since it requires a lot of strength, which will put that as well as a con. But however, the scaling favors dexterity. It's also quite a heavy weapon, like its other counterpart with 20-point weights I didn't mention earlier, but that's quite heavy. So yeah, so quite a bit holding it back. Now onto the score. Damage, I'm going to give a good ball props here, B+, plenty of damage. Reach, didn't really take advantage of its reach in my opinion to its full potential, but I'll give it a B-. Animation, nothing new out of the ordinary, plain and Jane, solid B. Scaling though, I'm going to go with C+. It has good dex scaling, but it's a little screwed up that it has dex scaling. Sure, it has variety, but the wrong kind of variety. Rather just make it magic scaling, that'll be so much better. Anyhow, and then miscellaneous, I'm going to give that a C. That Scarlet Rot is nice on there, but the DPS in this weapon is rather slow. Like half your opponents are going to die before even get affected by that Scarlet Rot. So yeah, and the weights weighing it down, the screwed up scaling. There's a couple of reasons not to use this over its other counterpart, but overall, it gets a B. It's still a solid weapon. Damage-wise, and I guess you could use Scarlet Rot on bosses too. Oh well. So, all in all, is the Rotten Greataxe worth it? Well, you do have to farm for it, and it's not really dependent on a strength build. But it is one of the only class of weapons with Scarlet Rot, and it still boasts impressive damage. Although you do have to probably infuse it with other arts in order to fix the scaling. So, it's sort of a 50-50 exchange, because that's how it's balanced. But is that worth it? That's entirely up to you. But no matter. That's my showcase for today. I'd like to thank you guys for watching. Hope to see you guys next time. Take care out there.